guess I'm afraid.
I'm bloody terrified, mate.
Ever since The Boys Season 3 finale, where Butcher was diagnosed with an incurable brain tumor due to his use of Temp-V, the similarities between him and the character of Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2 have been stacking up. Both of these characters are given a ticking clock in their lives, and it's up to them with what they're going to do with the time that they have left. They're both previously tough characters who never talk about their emotions, but end up admitting that they're afraid to die.
I'm afraid.
The connections between Butcher and Arthur go on and on, so I figured it was worth taking the time to talk about the similarities between the two of them. I also thought by analyzing this, it might give us some insight into where Butcher's character arc is headed and what his potential fate is. In Red Dead Redemption 2, when Arthur finds out that he has tuberculosis and only has a few months to live, his outlook on life changes drastically. While it takes him some time at first, eventually he ends up admitting that he hasn't been a good person. He comes to terms with the fact that he's made a lot of mistakes in his life. And similarly, we see Butcher open up to his son Ryan and tell him that he's not a good person. This is of course something that Butcher and Arthur have always known deep down, but have never said out loud. They've never had the courage to admit it. This is step one in this journey. Both of these characters are honest with themselves and set the record straight for the things that they've done wrong. Later in Arthur's journey, when talking to the nun, he gets vulnerable and opens up about the relationship he has with his family. He reveals that his son passed away, a girl loved him but he threw it away, his mom died when he was a kid, and he watched his abusive father die in front of him. Butcher's relationship with his family is very similar, and it's a big part of the reason why he made all the mistakes that he did. We know Butcher's father was abusive like Arthur's, his brother Lenny took his own life, and we know Butcher doesn't have a good relationship with his mom. This conflicted past that both Butcher and Arthur have with their families is something that they've kept bottled up, and this terminal disease that the two of them have is forcing them to face it. This is step 2. Arthur from here decides that he wants to help and put good into the world with the time that he has left. Later in Arthur's conversation with the nun, he tells her that he's dying. But what's important is this is the first time that he actually admits to being afraid of it.
I'm afraid.
Butcher has a direct parallel to this, where he tells his son Ryan that he's bloody afraid of death. Previously, Butcher and Arthur felt like people who just didn't care about their lives. They would take any risks that put their lives in danger because they didn't care. They had this tough guy persona. But when faced with an expiration date and this idea of running on borrowed time, this tough guy facade starts to break down. And they decide with the time that they have left, they're gonna give back instead of constantly taking. That's step 3. And we can see this in Butcher. His redemption arc has already started. He had the opportunity to knock out Ryan with laced cookies and take him away from Homelander. Instead, he tried to make a genuine connection with him and be honest about his feelings. Butcher also chose not to go behind the boys' backs again and didn't strike a deal with Newman. Victoria Newman had offered his son Ryan in exchange for the files the boys had on her superpowers. And instead of going through with this deal, he chose to protect his team and not hurt them again. This is something, of course, old Butcher would have never have done. He would have hurt anybody for his own personal gain. Additionally, we saw him save the rabbit in season 4 episode 5. Kimiko took notice of this and smiled at him, appreciating his act of kindness. So where does Butcher's arc go from here? How does it end? Well, if you look at Arthur's arc, the nun tells him,
"There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan. Take a gamble that love exists and do a loving act."
All aboard! I shall try.
I know you will.
Ultimately, Arthur takes these words to heart. In Arthur's high honor ending, he chooses to sacrifice himself in order for John and his family to make it out and have a better life.
Now, I'll hold them off. It would mean a lot to me. Please.
In Butcher's case, his younger accomplice is Huey, and I think all signs point to Butcher sacrificing himself for Huey's safety. I think Butcher's path to redemption is the same as Arthur's. They both redeem themselves by giving up their lives for the better versions of themselves. These, of course, being John and Huey. So let me know what you guys think about this comparison in the comments below. If Butcher's arc does happen to follow Arthur's closely, I think it'll be beautiful to watch. Anything else just wouldn't feel right.
This is cheating. Deal's off.
So if you enjoy this kind of film and television content, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.